Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to another episode of Nufftingz Speaks. I did not expect to be doing this video. A lot of these videos are popping up, and it's like I'm not even prepared. It's like stories are just getting thrown in my lap, right? So I was going to give it a couple days, let my other video stew a little bit, but this story is on my mind, and I have to speak on it. I'm going to start forgetting stuff. So we're going to give a little background to it. So I was dating this girl years ago, right? And at the end, when we were going to break up and all that, like this is before I even knew, she had requested me to talk to her grandmother. And her grandmother, she always referred to her as Nana. So let's just call her Nana from now on. So she wanted me to talk to her Nana, right? Now, her Nana was getting older, and her husband had previously died, and she was living on her own and whatever. And at this time, I was extremely big in the gym. You know, in the morning, I would lift weights at Anytime Fitness, and in the evening, I would do Hapkido, or I would do Muay Thai or whatever, depending on the day, right? So, when at this point I was really big on fitness and health and, you know, eating healthy and yada, 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 right? So she wanted me to talk to her Nana because her Nana was starting to go through some health issues and sort of, I guess, needed support, like, you know, information on things and whatever. So I was like, cool. You know, I had a lot of information and, you know, I was down to help. I also would never say no to this girl either. It was like one of those things. So it's like, okay. So me and the Nana, I don't know how we started talking. I don't know like who called who first, what I mean. But, you know, we were cool. And I don't know if I called her first or if she called me, but we had a couple conversations. It wasn't anything big. And, you know, I don't remember what was said or any of that stuff. But a little bit down the road, me and the girl, we had a bad breakup. Extremely bad breakup. So, okay. Um, and this is like the year before COVID, right? So this is a while ago. And we had this bad breakup, and it was like the Nana didn't want to stop talking to me. So, you know, whatever. We still got along. We were still, I guess you call cordial, whatever. And the girl was very upset about that and started making demands. Like the real person she was coming out, where it was like always demanding. She was very rude and whatever. So the Nana and me continued talking. And the thing was, it wasn't that I was calling the Nana was calling me, right? And she just wanted someone to talk to because her family was small. So what it is, right? The Nana lived out in another part of Canada, and all her family was still there. But her husband had passed on. She only had one kid. The one kid had had two daughters, so she had only two grandkids, right? So there's really just the four of them. So they're a very small family, right? So she was always by herself. Like she would tell me how, you know, she would go months without talking to her family, and she would sit there and look at the four walls because she wasn't working. Like she was like, God, what was she, like 76 or like late 70? I think she was like 79. So anyways, we would talk, and remember, this is before COVID, right? So, you know, people are still doing stuff at this point, right? Anyways, so the situation got to where I started to find out the real ins and outs of the family when it came to how they were, how they treated the Nana and whatever, right? And I mean, this Nana was amazing. Like, I'm saying was, like she's not alive still. She, no matter what, she always had something for them, like money-wise. If they needed money, if they needed a car, she'd buy it for them. Like she had the money to do things, right? So moving on, you know, they started to have breakups in the family, like where the girl I was dating, she would never go see her nana. Her mother would never go see her mother, right? Um, as in like, the daughter of the nana, she never would go see her. They would go there for like an hour and pick up something for her and then leave. Like they never sat down and stayed with her. And she lived about an hour away. So they would drive there for an hour, pick up some groceries for her or whatever. Um, Actually, no, I don't think at this point they were picking up groceries. They wouldn't see her for months on end, really, right? It wasn't until the nana got really sick and couldn't drive anymore and all that that they would go once a month to see her, as in they would go to the grocery store, pick up stuff, and give it to her, and then leave 5 minutes later. Like they never stayed overnight, nothing, right? So, anyways, the nana is now in her, God, today she told me she was 88, which I think is the wrong number. I think she's probably a little bit younger than that, but she is getting older, right? So I hadn't talked to her in like, God, 6 months because I'm busy and whatever, right? And I try not to talk to her because I don't want the ex-girlfriend to answer the phone or to, you know, see stuff and then start acting stupid. So, anywho, and I mean, the nana is a good person because even when I would go check her, I would go see her and I'd be like around in the area where she lived and stuff. And, we go out, get a coffee, have a conversation. It was nothing bad. It was just like, it's like if you have like an elderly friend that has no family and you go spend time with them. It was like that type of thing, right? So, anyways, um, she tells me what's been going on. And I mean, there's stories for days. Like, I mean, there's so many stories, but this is the main one that's been on my mind and made me think, oh my God, what the hell? So the nana had kidney stones, right? Okay. And she had to go for surgery to get rid of the kidney stones or whatever they have to do to get rid of them. But before the surgery, she broke her foot. Now, I can only imagine, like, if I broke my foot, how annoying it is. 'Cause I've never broken a foot before. But I could only imagine how bad it is for someone in their 80s when they break a foot. So she broke her foot, right? Went to the hospital, and when they did surgery on her foot or whatever they had to do, she said surgery, but I don't know, maybe they did something else. They then, at the same time, got rid of the kidney stone. So she was in the hospital for 3 months, right? So she's in the hospital for 3 months, and she would email me and stuff, but I never like responded because I didn't want the situation with the granddaughter to pop up. So, she's home now, and she tells me the story that, she had broke her foot, she was in the hospital, whatever, right? She tells me that when she went back home after, being in the hospital for 3 months, mind you, her family only saw her 3 times while she was in the hospital for 3 months. And I was like, damn, that's wild. So when she went home, she noticed that things were out of place and things were missing. So she goes into her stuff. And mind you, I said she had money, right? So she has jewelry. And a lot of these older people, they have jewelry from like, their keepsakes, their stuff from, um, from their parents, their grandparents, like, what do you call them again? The stuff that's been passed down from generation to generation, right? And she also had her husband's wedding bands and stuff, right? So she had everything together. Everything is gone. All her earrings, her rings, like everything of value was gone when it came to that kind of stuff, right? So even someone stole her knives, like, her butcher knives. And I was like, what the hell? But anyway, so she also noticed that someone went into her safe. And this wasn't like someone breaking into a safe. Like it was someone that knew the code. There was no break-in. There was no nothing because someone had a key and whatever. So she's telling me all this and she goes, it was my ex that did it. And I was like, really? Because the joke was about a year ago, other stuff was stolen before. But this was everything that was left over, like everything. So she's like, did they go to my place, to her place, and think I was gonna die and steal all my stuff. And I'm like, well, I told you like a year ago you should have put a camera in there they couldn't, so you could see what's going on. She didn't do it because she is very naive to the fact that her family would do her like that. So she's giving them the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, wow. So when she confronted my ex girlfriend about this, I don't want to say her name, when she confronted her about that, that became an arguing match. The granddaughters, they're yelling at her, telling her, F you and I didn't do it and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, then who the hell did it then? Only you and your mother have the key to my house. Like, how do you, like, who would have came in here and stole it? Like, and the thing is, it's not like it's a house. She lives in an apartment, and this apartment has security and all that type of stuff. So people um just running in there and robbing her would be, you know, hard to do. Anyways, and it's in like an elderly home, like not elderly home, but the whole building is elderly people, right? So they have like a supervisor that walks around. They have all this stuff, right? So I'm like listening to this story and I'm like, wow. So then when she confronted the granddaughter about it, the mother calls her and starts yelling at her saying, how dare you accuse my daughter and yada, yada, yada. And I'm thinking to myself, yo, that's her mom that she's talking to like that. Like, it was just weird to me because I'm like, yo, I would never do that with my mom. Like, it was like, bro, what? And like when you hear these stories, you start to think that, the Nana's probably making this up. But yeah, there's been a lot of proof that this is how they treat her. But anyways, moving on. So she tells me all this, and I'm like, she's talking to me, and she's like, they took everything. And what it was too was that a lot of that stuff was going to get passed down to them when she passed, anyways. But even like some of the rings and stuff, not some of them, but there was like one ring that belonged to her husband, and she wanted to give it to her youngest granddaughter. The youngest granddaughter, she never got to like be spend time with the grandfather because he died when she was like 1 or 2. So she's always asked for the ring. She wanted something from her I don't know what they call a male nana, like from grandpa, whatever, right? So my ex would say no, since she never got to know him, she doesn't deserve to have anything that belongs to him. So that was the argument that they were having, right? But she took everything and she put whatever she was going to give to the mother in one thing, whatever is going to the ex-girlfriend in one thing, and then whatever is going to the younger sister was it's something also, right? Apparently, my ex took everything, and I mean everything. And I'm like thinking to myself, yo, so you're in the hospital. Now, can you imagine this though? You're in the hospital, right? 3 months, right? Your family only sees you 3 times over 3 months, right? And they go to your place and they take all your stuff. Like anything of value they just took. And she also told me that while she was in the hospital, her daughter called and asked her if she can give her $400 to pay for something. And anytime she gives them money, she never gets it back. And I was like, so you're in the hospital, no one's coming to see you, and you still gave her the $400? You should have told her to F off. And she just doesn't want to say no. And I'm like, you're sort of enabling the situation. But it's not my business, right? I just said my little points and that was it, right? But I let her speak, right? And I'm just like, but when I'm listening to it, I'm like, yo, can you imagine that though? Like, you're in the hospital and your own family rolls in your house and takes your stuff. Like, I only see this stuff on like TV shows, like, like in what was it? What was that TV show that was on TBS? The Tyler Perry show. Was it House of Pain? Where the dude's wife was a druggie and she would like go into the house and steal stuff, and that's what I thought it was, honestly. Like when I would hear some of these things, I'm like, yo, like I'm thinking that, yo, are they all on drugs or something? But they're not. They all have jobs. Um, they they seem to be doing fine, but it's like how do you just steal people's stuff like that? Like, I could be around all my mom's expensive stuff and never steal anything. Like, especially if I have money, like if I'm working and I'm, sustaining life, I'm doing well, why would I steal the stuff? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just making this sound stupid, but to me, it just seems like, wow. And it's not like this woman doesn't give them stuff. Like, she would buy things for them just randomly. Like, when they would come over, they would want to work out. So she bought an elliptical. And this is before, like, I was totally involved. And they would go on the elliptical because she bought the elliptical. The elliptical was never used again. Like, it just sat there for years because she's not using it and they're not coming. So who's using it? Like, it was like, to me, the story was so mind boggling. Like, I was like, yo, are people really like that? It's like, dude, you can't even trust your own family with your stuff. It's like, damn. I don't know, man. It was just one of those. It's such a sad story to me. And the Nana, she's at that point now where she just wants it to end. She's just like, sometimes she wishes that when she goes under the anesthetics, that she doesn't wake up. And I'm like, a person saying that just to be done with the issues, it's such a sad thing to say. It's like, it's such a sad thing to see. I don't know, man. It just seems so, I don't know, man. I just like, wow. Anyways, that was my little story. I'll see you guys in the next video. Like and subscribe. And if you have any issues with your family and you see stuff like this, or if you've seen it before with other people, comment down below if you want. You don't have to, but if you can feel, this story and be like, yo, it resonates with you a little bit, holler at me. Tell me what you say. Tell me your stuff about it. Anyways, like and subscribe once again. I'll see you in the next video.